Hello there, and welcome to FCRB TV. And as promised, I thought I would delve into a fantastic article that was written by U.S. international Geoff Cameron, who was also on the books at Stoke City in the Premier League. Um, Graduate of University of Rhode Island, just as I am. Played in the men's soccer team there, and he went on to MLS and got his way to the Premier League and has represented the national team quite well for some time. Can't believe he's already 32 years old, but yeah, that's where it is. And he, in his article in the Players Tribune, if you haven't read it, I think you should get your hands on it and you know read what he had to say about the state of U.S. soccer. Um, I think what he said was spot on, and it's. It's pretty eye opening that what he was saying. A lot of people I don't think are really ready to hear. The powers that be in U.S. soccer, I don't think they're going to be too happy with him because he talked about the U.S. men's national team not qualifying for the World Cup, why that is, and what we've got to change to make sure that never happens again. As you all know, we just had the election was yesterday for the new U.S. soccer president, and of course, just as Geoff basically told us was going to happen, that they're afraid of change, and they elected Sunil Gulati's vice president. Don't even know what his name is. Don't really care to know his name because I don't think he should have won. And I think Geoff is going to pretty much say the same thing because if you take the VP from the last administration, nothing's going to change. Our selection process in getting players in, selecting the new manager, all those things, you know, it's not going to go in the direction that people like Geoff Cameron, who are in the thick of it, would want it to go. And I, second what he was saying. To touch on what he was saying that when we got rid of Jurgen Klinsmann, that was the beginning of the end. I said the minute that he was let go was a massive mistake because what Klinsmann was doing for U.S. soccer was phenomenal, and it needed more time, and more people needed to buy into it. And I remember when Mexico came to town in Columbus and they beat us 2-1. I didn't think it was the end of the world. Mexico is arguably the strongest team in the hex. So when that took place, I wasn't too worried about it. And then we went down to Costa Rica, and they hammered us 4-0. And for me, as I'm watching the game, I felt that players played as if they wanted Klinsmann gone. And some people call me crazy for saying things like that. That like, how nobody would ever do such a thing. But some people don't like uh, a totalitarian type manager, a guy who's going to be all over you, putting the pressure on you. They don't like that. So for Costa Rica to come, for us to go down to San Jose and get smashed 4-0, and the lads looked like they hadn't played soccer in ages, it just it didn't add up to me. And then all of a sudden, Klinsmann is going after that. So in the article, Geoff says that once we let go of Klinsmann, we bring in the old head Bruce Arena, and things just got too lax. People got too comfortable. People were able to let their hair down. And that's the total opposite of what Klinsmann was trying to do, the way Klinsmann had us going. If you look back to, and Geoff touched on it again, if you look back to 2014 World Cup in Brazil, USA was fit. USA went to Manaus, traveling all over throughout Brazil, and and they were just fit. They were able to run. They were able to go toe to toe and take all challenges that came their way. And were unlucky not to, nick that victory against Belgium in the second round. But in this last qualifying campaign, we didn't have that type of organization, that type of discipline, that type of togetherness. A lot of people seemed very comfortable. And Geoff went on to talk about the divide between the MLS players and the quote unquote European based players. And he's one of the European based players. And if you take a look at it, it looked like the new coaching staff that came in after Klinsmann's reign, they wanted to just play all MLS guys and prove to the world that MLS guys can get us to the World Cup. MLS guys can do what the European guys do, and you can't do that. You cannot do that, okay? Because listen, let's keep it real. The Major League Soccer is not superior to the Portuguese Super League. The MLS is not superior to Ligue 1 in France. It's not superior. And if you look at those national teams, Portugal and France, their players go abroad within Europe to the stronger leagues. So why would we, the United States, not encourage our players to find a way to fight their way into a team in one of the top 5, 6 leagues in Europe? That's what every player should be shooting for. That's what every club in MLS should be aiming to help their players achieve, because in the end, that will make the national team stronger. Geoff also went on to talk about how when you're in a top side in Europe, every day is a fight. Every day. Not MLS when you know you're getting selected on Saturday. You know when match day comes, you're on big money, you're in the match. I was in MLS too. I saw the guys training throughout the week. They didn't have to do anything. The big name guys didn't have to do anything, because come Saturday, they were going to be selected to play. And we, the not so big name players, we were going to have a seat on the bench. But that doesn't happen in Europe. Everybody has to fight for their place. I mean, for example, look at Paul Pogba now. $90 million man is getting pulled after 60 minutes because he's not following instructions. That's a little bit of a tactical thing. But at the end of the day, his place is not, promised. You have to execute. You have to work. And I tell you, that's where we went wrong. And that's what Geoff Cameron was telling us, that the national team got way too complacent. All we needed was a point against Trinidad, and we couldn't get it. Tactically we were wrong. And that's what happens. If you're going to, you rewind back to Mexico getting ready to come to Columbus to start the Hex. If you feel like your manager's on the hot seat and he's got to get results in the next 2 outings, and if he doesn't, you've got to have quality replacements lined up. And I'm sorry, but when we chose to rehire a manager we've already had, that he had his time, he did his thing, to try to bring him back again, that was not the right move. Not the right move. And these are all feelings that I had when it was taking place. And Geoff Cameron, really put it out there. And it coming from the horse's mouth, a player who was right in there with it. As I read, I was like, dude, we've been saying it. He's absolutely right. Players like, Jermaine Jones said it. Players like, what's his name? Jordan Morris. Why are you playing in Seattle, bro? You need to be at Werder Bremen. You need to be in Europe, having to fight for your place all the time. And he's not the only one. Geoff also mentioned Kellen Acosta. Yeah, hopefully Kellen finds his way out there, because that's what it takes. MLS is not a place where you're going to pick your 22-man roster or 20 of 22 and say you're going to go and beat Argentina. We saw what happened in Copa America. It's not going to happen. We need to get our players to have to deal with uncomfortable situations. Step outside your comfort zone and have to fight for what you want. And when I read the article, I thought about the youth players that I'm working with now. I try my best to put them under some pressure and let them know that, like, you know what, we've got a squad of 18 guys, and if you aren't pulling your weight in training, you're not going to start. You're not going to play a lot of the minutes because there are other young guys in your squad who can do a job as well. So we have to create the competitiveness at an early age. We cannot shy away from our kids, not enjoying the pressure because that's part of it. If you're serious about football, you've got to be ready to deal with those things. And if we're talking about the youth players, the senior guys definitely have to be, they have to be ready for that. And this last World Cup qualifying campaign was not good enough. It was not good enough. Too many guys were just too complacent. They talked. They said Klinsmann talked about the players leaving Europe and coming back to get big contracts in MLS. That was not good for the national team. So the U.S. soccer, we have a huge mountain to climb to rectify what's going on here. For me, I think it's a bit too business oriented. It should be about building winning teams at all levels. Yeah, our youth. I think our youth teams are quite decent. I think our under 17s, was it? Yeah, I think the 17s with the 17s with Joshua Sargent and Timothy Weah. Those guys, they lost in the quarterfinals to England, who went on to win it. Our 20s, they lost in the quarterfinals to, dare I say, Serbia, who went on to win it. So we've got talent, no doubt about it. But those guys, and I think some of them are in Europe, like Timothy Weah at PSG, and Joshua Sargent will be at Werder Bremen once he turns 18 or something like that. But we've got to get our players out there. Geoff said we need to get 50 more Christian Pulisic's out there to make our national team better. We need to send our best into Europe. Get them in there. Find a way to get them in there. I've talked to some other people, and they've told me, they're like, oh well, Peric, those clubs don't want our guys. If we have a top quality 17-year-old, 16-year-old, we can't get him into one of their reserve teams and he fight his way to the top. We can't do that. I'm sure we can do that. I'm sure we can find a way, for the best of the best that we have. And this also goes on to what exactly is MLS doing. MLS, it looks like it's just a product where we're trying to get butts in the seats and entertain the families and so on and so forth. But really, these clubs should be, first and foremost, you want to compete at a high level and win your domestic championships, yes. But at the same time, you want to be producing players, producing young, talented players that can get into Europe, because ultimately those are the guys who are going to get into our national team and help the U.S. national team achieve things. Copa America, the World Cup, so on and so forth. That's what we want to do. So, with Dave Sarakin being the interim manager right now, it's been nice to see some of the young lads who have been getting an opportunity. But hopefully that continues, and we can start, start building towards what is it, 2022? Is it? Yeah, 2022 in Qatar. Oh, geez. But so I tell you, if you haven't read this article by Geoff Cameron, you really need to, because he puts it all out there. He puts it all out there. We've got, the bottom line he's saying is, we've got to get our players into Europe. We've got to get them there. We got to go. We can't make excuses and try to stay in the comforts of our surroundings where we've grown up and things like that. We need to go. Go, go, go. That's what we have to do, because you have to be able to withstand the pressures of the rigors of every day having to fight for your place every day. In MLS, you're really not having to do that. Especially if you're a big name national team player. So I tell you, Geoff really hit it on the head. Hit it on the head. It was great, and it was pretty nice to know that it was a URI alum as well who was putting it out there, because this URI alum, nobody wants to listen to him. But yeah, he's absolutely right. We've got to get our players out there. We got to get more Christian Pulisic's out there. I mean, he's doing a great job at Borussia Dortmund, and Dortmund, I would say, has a huge, say in the success, of Christian. He being able to get out there at what, 16 or something like that. And I know that he talked about the whole process of getting out there with the passports and having Croatian descent, that helped him out a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's he did his work and he got out there, but he had to deal with the pressures, with the managers, with competition and training every day, and the cream rises to the top, and he's done a great job. We need more of that. We need more of that, and we need to encourage it. And I think that Geoff was saying that we're not encouraging it, that we think that we can do it all here in MLS and domestically, and we cannot do that because we are not that footballing nation yet. If the Dutch players are leaving the Eredivisie at a young age to go off into the bigger leagues, and as I've already mentioned, the French and the Portuguese, for example, why do we think that we don't have to do the same? Our lads have to go. Geoff said, hey, when the Brazilians leave home and they go to Milan and they go to Manchester, nobody bats an eye. It's like, yep, that's how it goes. That's where you got to go. So all these young kids out here who dream of being top-class footballers that are in the United States, you part of your dream has to say, at this time I left and I went off to Europe. You got to go. You got to go. It's great that we have the MLS now. I can't wait for the league to start again, to follow our domestic league. But let's not fake the funk here. The top level, the best of the best, they're playing in Europe. And you got to go over there. You got to go and fight. Fight for your place and prove your worth every day. And that's what Geoff was saying. And big ups to you, Geoff. And hopefully, I mean, with the new president, I don't think anything's going to change. Out of the candidates that we had, I wanted Claudio Reyna to be the president. Claude, if you're watching, I wish you would have run. I would have voted, but my vote don't count. But I thought Claudio could have done a job. But Eric Ronaldo was the one I would have voted for if I had a chance to vote for one of the candidates that were in there at this time. But yeah, we didn't get Eric. I really think that the position of USSF president needs to be a footballer. It needs to be a footballer who knows what it takes to build solid teams, because having that mindset, you're going to pick the right manager to lead the national team. Then the whole youth setup will be set up properly, and that's where we will get that reinforcement that, like, listen, you're 16, you're dope. We want to get you over to AZ Alkmaar. You know what I mean? That's what we want to. We want to get you over there, and you gotta go. Fight your way up the ladder over there. That's what we need. And if we continue to pick suits who are over there trying to do the business side of it, then it's really not going to work. You know what I mean? So, if you haven't read the article, find it and read it. Geoff really put it out there for us to understand. For all those soccer parents and you have young studs, we have a lot of young studs at FC Red and Blacks. My parents, find this article by Geoff Cameron and understand what it's going to take for your little gem to really shine. All right? So if you've enjoyed this, please subscribe at the bottom. They all do that stuff. And I'll be back, probably a preview before Arsenal goes off to, I don't even know where that Östersund club is. Is it Sweden? I don't know. But it's going to be real cold. And hopefully we'll get it right. But I'll give you a preview of that. before the Europa League tie on Thursday. So best of luck in the week, folks. Again, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.